to listen to one or both of us speak. Allegedly, one or both of us speak.
I know. Okay. The stream was picking up the wrong microphone, so they couldn't hear me. So now they can hear me and they can hear you. Unless you speak and something went wrong. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you guys.
Okay, you're giving me a heart attack over here.
I am like, patiently exerting myself.
You're scaring me.
We showed up early.
You're scaring me.
And here we are.
Hey,
the man does not look. He doesn't want to preamble, and then instead of preambling, he doesn't want to have his stuff work correctly on YouTube because he didn't set it up. And then he's trying to deflect Gavin. I mean, come on, this is the trifecta of things. Like you're turning into the next Caleb Porter of podcasting.
Hey man, ask my wife. I am the expert of deflection.
I'm not going to ask her that. I am like 100% not going to, but if your wife is listening to this right now, and I know you follow us on Threads, feel free to, sow something in Threads. I don't know what people call it on Threads right now.
She doesn't listen to our podcast. I promise you that.
I know. That doesn't surprise me.
So, what's our big story? Big Russ?
What's our big story? Wait, hold on. You want to dive right into the big story? Gavin, we haven't even introduced the podcast yet.
I always forget. We're streaming. We're live. Goodness. We haven't done the music, but we're talking. So I don't know.
All right.
Hello, everyone. You notice the candor in my voice is lacking because I'm currently developing a migraine from my not so wonderful co-host, Gavin. You can find him on social media at LionsBlog1. Gavin, hello.
Hi.
You can find me, your host, Russell, on social media at Mr. Danger Russ. And more importantly, if you're here listening for both of us, one, thank you. If you're here just listening to me, then, naturally that's where you can find me. But remember, you can find both of us on social media, on the podcast at MLS Now Podcast. We are everywhere that you could conceive of to consume social media content. That's right. We're on Thread. We have a Threads account. The Threads account exists. Someone, me, has maybe forgot to post on that recently. We've got Instagram, we got TikTok, we got Twitter/X. We don't have a Facebook, Gavin. That's a real shame. We're missing out.
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah. Now, see, here's the thing. Normally, I would take this time to really riz up Gavin. I'd be, singing his praises, really building him up. But I don't need to do that this week because here's the thing. A factual statement instead. There's no fluff to this. A factual statement. It turns out Gavin and myself, we might actually know ball because we both actually did okay at our weekend bets for once. So it's a welcome departure from the norm. Gavin, truly well done. We have both made money over the weekend. I congratulate you, sir.
It's about time. It's been a rough year in MLS for me thus far.
Yeah, it's been a rough 13 weeks, 14 weeks.
Yeah, week 14 review. Yeah. I mean, there's been some pros and some cons, some goods and some bads, but yeah. You know it was a good weekend when we're both willing to talk about it right off rip on the episode.
Absolutely. And that, of course, means that we both won our 3-leg bets, right? So we should be sitting at 3-1 should be the current results, right?
Out of everything I placed this weekend, the only thing I lost was our little friendly competition.
All right. So
Yeah.
one of us might know ball better than the other. So 3-0.
Yep.
Russell still sits in the lead. My luck cannot possibly last forever, but it
You've been hitting
will
some
so
like
long.
2000s, haven't you? You've hit like one or
Yeah,
two
I've
2000s.
had
It's
a couple of
ridiculous.
those. I almost hit that 14 leg, but Seattle giving up that PK at the very, very, very end, which I loved as someone who appreciates Vancouver, but I disliked from a betting standpoint because I could have turned, my weekly $1 14 leg double chance wager into like $42, and that was a shame Seattle threw that, but it was fine because Vancouver got the result. And really, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is both teams that I enjoy watching getting results. So
Absolutely.
right now, with that, Gavin, now that you have had a chance, we've talked a little bit, we've chatted, we've chewed the fat, if you will. We've had time to really warm up the crowd. The humor should finally be hitting. We do need to talk about not necessarily a big topic, so much as it is a bunch of little bite-sized topics. All these little mouthfuls turn up into one big, not a nothing burger for once, but a something burger, if you will. We're talking some coaches. Caleb
What's
Porter.
new?
Absolutely, Caleb Porter. We have to talk about, because I'm watching a train wreck in slow motion, but it's at like regular speed and it's just getting worse, and I can't look away. Frank Klopas is, I feel like I'm watching,
Two train wrecks.
yeah, I feel like I'm watching two train. I don't even know if it's I don't even know if it's even a train wreck anymore. I feel like this is like a slowly sinking ship, where one person is on like a piece of like debris or like a piece of wood, and the other one's like, no, go without me.
Yep.
Of course, Gary Smith, we talked about him at the midweek, but if you're listening to this and you did not listen to the midweek episode, Gary Smith was in fact fired last week. That's probably important to just really reiterate. Gary Smith was finally fired, first coach of the season to be fired, and then finally someone who I still can't get a read on if they're on the hot seat or not, Gonzalo Pineda, who was unable to beat Nashville despite Nashville being coach and assistant coachless. And it's terrible is what it is. I think he's got to be on borrowed time at this point. But Gavin, there's 3.5 options to talk about here. Where do you want to start?
Can I throw in another one?
Absolutely. You can throw in anything you want. Take us to 4.5.
I'll throw in Estevez too.
Yeah, well, that's
Nico
fair.
Estevez.
That's fair.
We don't talk about him, but I'm just throwing him in.
Yeah. I don't get the sense that his seat is all that warm yet. It should be, for the record, but I don't get the sense that it is.
Similar to Gary Smith. Sorry, had a brain fart there. Similar to Gary Smith, and it's like, what direction are they going in? They give me no confidence that they're going anywhere.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
It's a great segue. I'm going to take it out of your hands. Talking about going in a direction and not knowing which direction to go in, we're going to work from the bottom up. I have no idea which direction Atlanta's going with Gonzalo Pineda. Like, truly, it's occasionally they look completely competent, right? Mm-hmm. But basically, anyone who's not Yakumakis has regressed this year at this point. Like, Muyumba is looking a shadow of himself from prior year. Guzan continues to age. He's still Guzan, like, still has the occasional outstanding moment, but still has the things that he's been getting lambasted for by fans, where they're like, oh, I can't believe we still have this guy in goal. They got rid of, Miles Robinson. They seem to be getting hit or miss performances from the back line, just in general across the board. It's like, again, Yakumakis is the one shining point, and he's injured this past week. So, like, where does this team even go right now? And do they even have an idea of where they're going? And I think the answer is no.
I think they're missing Xande Silva more than people realize. He was fantastic down the stretch last season, and he's been a big miss. Saba hasn't been doing well on that right side, and where Xande Silva would play on the right, or sometimes I think Silva's lined up on the left as well, but Saba just hasn't kicked on. He's regressed. I agree. Moyomba has fully regressed. He was one of the best midfielders in the league last season. This season, not the same player. And then, yeah, Almada. I think...
Who?
Yeah. I couldn't believe... Or not that I couldn't believe. I understood it. But I just never saw a $20 million to $30 million player in there, even at his peak. Even at his peak, he wasn't giving me Almiron vibes. So I do feel a little justified in that no one was going to take him at that price tag, especially in the current market. And, I mean, now he's just fallen off this season. I think he was obviously injured this weekend. We'll get into that game. But, man, did they miss him?
Million.
Yeah, man, did they miss him? But also, when he's been playing, he hasn't been his same creative self. So,
yeah.
It's been a regression all the way across the board, offensively, defensively. I really thought Atlanta were going to kick on and be really good this year. Yes, they've struggled with injuries, but it's been bad. And that's why a lot of people like yourself and myself look at the coach.
Yeah, because it's not just one player. When
Right.
it is across the board, it's no longer coincidence. So,
Yep.
I will be very
Who's
interested to see. We talked. Let's go really super light speed. Gary Smith was fired last week. Didn't seem like he would be fired. All of a sudden, won against Toronto, got his 100th win, gone next day.
Yep.
I will say I'm going to talk about the lasting effect of Gary Smith later, but whoever comes after Gary Smith has some serious work cut out for them.
I was listening to Extra Time the other day. Yesterday, maybe? And Andrew Wiebe threw out David Moyes as just a throwaway name. And I was like, ooh, I kind of like that.
Well, I mean, I went Gio Savarese as a throwaway name, so...
Yeah, like someone like that, Savarese or, like a David Moyes. I don't know, like... I don't think they can just completely switch identity. Like, as much as I would love for them to just do it and then become this attacking, amazing team, like, I think they're going to need a middling coach, maybe someone who's willing to do a mid-block, like a press, fall back into a mid-block, and then from there, transition goal. I don't think they could go to full possession-based soccer, high press, anything like that. I just don't think it would work right away with the squad that they have. So, interesting to see what direction they go. I know we talked about it a little bit in the midweek, so don't want to spend too much more time on it. But I think it was the right decision, and we'll see what they do.
Yes, we will. I think it'll be interesting to see if they even make a move in the summer, or if they really wait for the dust to settle with all the coaches doing the dance, and then maybe they look to see if they can pick up the pieces from there. So
They might, yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting to see what's going on there. We have Frank Klopas. He is on a seat of indeterminate temperature. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle, or whatever it's called, indicates that it's both hot and cold at the same time, and yet observing the true temperature of this seat means it will change and no longer be what it was. Gavin, I have no idea if Frank Klopas has more time or not.
He shouldn't have more time.
He shouldn't have more time, and yet I think he's going to continue to just have all the time in the world because, again, I don't think that it's a coach issue. I mean, firing Klopas will not change the issues that are in Chicago at this point. So if you're the person who is maybe higher up making the decisions, or if you're the person telling the decision maker, this is what you have to work with.
Mm-hmm. At this point, I agree. We've talked about it a million times. It's above the coach. But, at this point, I wish they just would have kept Fred, what was his name? The last coach, Ezra Hendrickson. Yep. I wanted to say Fredrickson. Ezra Hendrickson. Why did they fire them without a clear plan in place to go get somebody? It feels like they just fired him because the results were bad and, okay, we'll find somebody eventually. And,
Well,
they're
they
still
did
looking.
find someone eventually.
Internally,
I don't know if they're still looking. If I'm being honest,
I hope they are. Like, I don't. That's actually a good point. Is Klopas the interim?
No, he's
He
a
got the
permanent
full-time?
head coach. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they're not looking. Okay. I still thought he was interim for some reason.
Further proof that Gavin does
But
not read.
didn't that take a while to happen then? Like,
Yes,
weren't they looking,
it did. Yep.
and then they just stuck with Klopas?
Mm-hmm. They did a whole long search. They looked at tons of people, and then at the end of the day, they said, "No, we'll stick with Klopas."
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Just terrible. It's just it reeks of no plan.
Yes, agree. The issue is not the coach at this point, and I have no idea what, like, again, because to your point, if they get rid of Klopas, what are they going to do? Are they going to go hire another coach, or likely going to get more of the same? You could go hire a great, phenomenal young coach, and I'm not convinced it changes anything at this point.
Might as well just keep the same head coach, whether it's Hendrickson, but now Klopas, until you get the replacement lined up, and then just do the
Chill switcheroo.
Yeah, just right away.
Indiana Jones, you go whoop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Well, unless you're gonna do like the Nick Cushing type thing, where you put in some young guy that you think's gonna have, the ability to coach in a couple of years, and you're just saying, it's okay, the job's yours, and we'll give you a couple of years. Doesn't matter how bad you do.
Yep. Could be the case.
All right, last one, Gavin. Caleb Porter, we saved the best for last. We saved the worst for last, but the best for last, right?
Well, do you want to go into the drama now?
We can hit on some of the drama now. I mean, how much of the drama do you want to hit on? Do you want to hit on the reporting that Caleb Porter was getting into fights with people, or
that's what I'm talking about?
Caleb Porter was, ducking ownership of New England Revolution, trying to avoid having meetings with them, or that Caleb Porter seems to be losing basically every single person in the locker room. Like, what do you want to hit on here? Let's hit on the reporting. Topics.
I think this is what people want to hear right off rip.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
take us away.
I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. Let me zoom in. I'm on Twitter or on X. Tommy Quinlan _IV reports on Caleb Porter from last night. So he starts off with a tweet here. Multiple sources tell me Carlos Hill laid into the group at halftime and was seen complaining about the team's current form to Philadelphia Union's Alejandro Bedoya and CBS Sports Golazo analyst Charlie Davies, obviously New England Revolution legend. We also have here, before that, I went in the wrong order, sorry about that. Sounds like a couple of interesting behind-the-scenes altercations happened the other night at halftime and after the Revs game. Things are unraveling in the worst way, holy hell. So that was first, then the tweet about Carlos Hill, and then, I'm not sure why my dog barked there, but
your dog doesn't like Caleb Porter.
Yeah, either. she's loving the drama too.
Right.
Then he said, this is still Tommy, same guy. More drama from Saturday night after the Revs lost to the Union. Team owner Jonathan Kraft was said to be looking for head coach Caleb Porter after the match Saturday. Porter is said to have avoided meeting with Jonathan, unclear if they met today. Players and coaches were said to be arguing with each other in the locker room after the match. Among the players involved was Henry, Kessler, Carlos, and M.A.K., Mark Anthony K. Porter is said to have multiple confrontations Saturday. One with Spalding in the locker room after the game. Makes sense after what Spalding did, in my opinion. The other with Nick Lima in the tunnel after the match. According to sources, Lima missed Caleb's handshake while coming off in the 83rd minute. Porter is said to have told Lima in the tunnel, "Don't ever disregard my effing handshake again." Lima shouted back, "It wasn't intentional." This is the second time in 2 weeks Lima and Porter have gotten into it. NYCFC comes to Foxborough Saturday, and that, my friends, is your lock of the week. I added that last part.
100%. That is
all right.
That is in my bets.
So a lot of drama going down. How long do you think he lasts?
Too long. He, again, should not have been hired. Like, Gavin, I don't know where you cut it off and say, like, just stop the bleeding. Like, where do you put a tourniquet on it and just say abandon, what we've already lost and just stop it? Because the best time to fire Caleb Porter is right now during this podcast. The second best time is when someone's listening to this podcast later on the app of their choice. Like, anytime after now is still a good time to fire him.
So, I'm just going to read you a headline. We don't have to read the actual article, but I'm just going to read you a headline.
Right. Read it to me. I'm in my mind space.
December 31st of 2023. You ready?
Oh, boy. Yep. Go ahead.
From Forbes.com.
Mm-hmm.
Why Caleb Porter was a sneaky good hire for the New England Revolution.
Ooh. Aged like milk.
Oh, different guy. Okay. Sorry, the guy who wrote it had the last name starting with Q, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's the same guy who we just reported from Twitter, but it's not. It's a different guy.
Oh.
That would have been fake news. But we don't spread fake news around here.
Right. Hard-hitting, factual journalism.
Yep. So,
asterisk, see, like, this claim disputed by multiple sources.
Yep. So, yeah, insane what's going down in New England. I don't give him very long at all.
My heart and my gut and my brain all say not long at all.
Does he make it to New York
somewhere,
City? He may not. Maybe they're not a lock.
Here's the thing. If he makes it to New York City or not, I think there's still a lock because, let's face it, New England are not a good team anyways this year. His tactics aren't helping, but they weren't very good last year after they fired Bruce Arena, and I don't think they're going to turn that around, just magically, right?
That's fair, yep. Yeah, so we will see what goes down, but they're in total free fall mode right now, and I don't think either everyone gets together. I'm actually glad Kraft is like looking for him. Like, I think that's a good sign that ownership cares. Maybe he should have done it a few weeks ago, but I almost feel like it's either have a heart-to-heart and figure this stuff out like grown men, or you fire him and you fail fast. You can't just let this go on for the whole season. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what happens this week.
Well, I think for all of us who have followed MLS long enough and have followed Caleb Porter's career long enough, I think we know which of those options is more likely to happen.
Yep. I agree.
All right, Gavin, I'm going to take us into our topics for the week because I'm ready to be done talking about bad coaches, which is unfortunate because the first of our topics this week that you could potentially choose is bad and worse. The second topic is the result we want and the result we deserve. And the final one, hammer the over.
Hammer the over. Let's start out fun.
All right. Hey, first up, Toronto 5, Montreal 1. Bernadeschi hat trick. It's a rivalry match that seems to always hit, whether you're on the field or off it. Again, keeping in mind that this is the rivalry that has seen fans getting into fights in the stands, that has sent people to the hospital. So teams are seemingly always up for this. The fans are always up for this. Bernadeschi was up for it with a new hairdo. We all made fun of him, and then he immediately went on a tear in this game, as if to say, "How dare you?"
Literally.
Yeah.
He's on the thumbnail for a reason this week. He was electric. Toronto
Player of the week.
was electric. Was he a player of the week? That makes sense.
He won it. He won player of the week.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, So I feel like I'm hearing a lot of people say oh, Montreal didn't show up for this game. And okay, maybe they didn't, but I feel like that gives too much credit to Montreal and not enough to Toronto. I thought Toronto just ripped Montreal apart. I think they just got into different spaces, tactically ripped them apart. Identified weaknesses in their system and just brutally executed on it. They would go down the left. I think that's where the first goal comes from. They would go down the right, and Bernardeschi would cut in and get that amazing strike in the 12th minute. And it was just 2-0, just like that. And then, of course, the third goal, you saw it, just the Montreal tried to play out of the back, and
there was a couple.
There was two like that this weekend. Yeah, that was the first one.
There might have even been 3 this weekend.
Well, okay, we're counting I think the Miazga one.
Okay, that's the third. That's the third. Of.
Yeah, but so all I'm trying to say here is Toronto ripped Montreal apart tactically.
Agree. And honestly, Gavin, I don't know if there's much more to say about this match other than like there was a clearly dominant team from start to finish.
No, yeah, I agree. I think Toronto showed the league how to take apart Montreal. I mean, there was a lot of second and third man runs. There was a lot of like that zigzag passing where you pass out and then you pass in and then you pass out again and you pass in and then you score. And it's like they just did that down both wings for Montreal, and Montreal couldn't cope.
Yeah.
So 3 goals, 1 assist for Bernardeschi. Great weekend for him, and hope to see more of the same in the future.
100%. I don't know if I have much else. Yeah, I'm good with that. We're going to next go to Cincinnati 3, St. Louis 1. Cincinnati scores 4 goals as they shut out St. Louis. They felt bad about it along the way, so Matt Miazga passed one into his own net.
Yeah, that was
that was the third one that I was thinking. I sat there in the stands and like the whole stadium just like collectively sighed outward when that happened. Everyone was just like, "Oh." That
was a funny moment, and that was a funny quote at the end as well.
An unfortunate moment.
Yeah, funny for everybody else. Acosta. I just want to shout him out. He looks back to his best self.
Yep, he 1 goal, 2 assists. Unfortunately, did not assist Miazga's screamer of a goal. So, but still pretty good. 1 goal, 2 assists. Had the penalty, clinical on it.
That was such a dumb penalty to give away.
Dumbest.
Why did he do that?
Dumbest possible penalty. I don't know. At no point in time, like Lucho is completely clear. He's not directly in front of the goal. Just let him run and pull it back and cut it into the box and force them to find, the free run to pick up that ball and try and tap it in. Instead, just pulls him back clear as day. It was the easiest call for a penalty I've ever seen.
Was it Pompeo who did it? I think it was number 12.
I'd have to go back and look for it. Maybe 12 sounds familiar.
It says in their profile if he gave away a penalty, but either way, just idiotic play there from him.
Yeah, not smart. The pass to Kubo though was phenomenal, and actually, the pass to set up Lucho when he got into that space to make the run to draw the penalty, the young player, 19-year-old Dado Valenzuela, that was beautiful pass. I mean, I don't know if you watched the sequence, Gavin. I mean, he takes the ball, he's patient, he has his head up, he's looking for the pass, he's waiting for the space to open, threads it perfectly into the stride of Lucho. I mean, he's 19 years old. That was amazing.
Yeah, he played well.
Valenzuela, yeah, he's a guy who looks ready to contribute in MLS. And not even just as like a guy who's getting 5-10 minutes off the bench. This looks like a guy who like you bring in at 60 minutes if you are a team that has like 2 phenomenal top striker options. Or in the case of FC Cincinnati, they started him because, Baird is injured. Bupenza fractured jaw out for, 8 more weeks or 6 weeks or however long. Like,
what's going on with Kelsey?
He's not fit yet.
Okay.
He's ramping up the fitness. He wasn't playing consistently in Ukraine, so
gotcha.
They will ease him in. He did, I think, also pick up a knock in the prior match. So again, just controlling the minutes there. But you wouldn't know. Valenzuela looked excellent. So it's a huge stock up for Cincinnati and a great source of hope and joy for going forward for the team to know that you have a guy like this at this age who is displaying all the markings of a guy who's going to succeed in the league.
Yeah. Just calling out. That was your guys' first win over 2 goals this season. We just talked about it last week. So you're welcome, Cincinnati fans. On the flip side, for St. Louis, only positives are I thought Berkey did his best to keep St. Louis in the game. But I'll let Tyler finish it off with our first correspondent corner of the night. He says, rotation without any recognizable tactic is a recipe for failure, especially when you're on the road against one of the best outfits in the league. This is, in my opinion, Carnell's first unjustifiable mistake of a game plan. It didn't make sense on paper, and it made less sense in execution. To minimize rotation through the last 4 to 5 weeks, only to nearly change the entire lineup for Cincinnati is just confusing. Plenty of players have also firmly crashed down to earth. Sam Adeniran's forced hiatus may have improved morale, but he and Klaus clearly have no chemistry. May have improved morale for him to leave? I wonder why. Azeel Jackson seems to have forgotten how to play completely, and Akil Watts is borderline unusable in defense. I do not like the current sentiment where certain St. Louis fans accuse the organization of not investing. In my opinion, it's bleed over frustration from the Cardinals. However, Lutz and company need to make some big swings this summer if City wants to make the playoffs and show it belongs, and Carnell needs to demonstrate he can do more than put 11 names on paper and see what happens. So 2 things on that one. The first one was Sam Adeniran's forced hiatus may have improved morale. Do you know what that means?
I don't remember. I remember seeing that he was out for a hot second. It completely escapes my mind right now.
I wonder why that would increase or improve morale.
Well, think about it this way. And I'm not saying it's the same, but there's circumstances. Emmanuel Reynoso, if he was removed from Minnesota, it'd probably increase morale.
Yeah,
or if someone is struggling, right? If, say, someone's going through a hard time with their family and people are like, oh, man, I feel so bad for this guy. You know, he should be with his family right now. Or he needs to, go spend time away from the team to get himself right. Like,
yeah, maybe.
Sometimes it's just empathy where you're like, oh, look, this guy, he needs time away, and it's not right that he's not being given this time away.
Yeah. Second thing was about the rotation. Sometimes coaches do this. I mean, I've seen Oscar Pareja do this. Just throw games. It's almost like identify a game and just throw it out the window. You rotate. You see if you can shithouse a draw or like a 1-0 win, and they weren't able to do it.
Yeah. When Parker did not start, and when I looked at this lineup, I was like, ooh, this feels like it's going to be a defensive side of St. Louis that could be easily exploited.
Exploit them, you did?
Yeah, that was the case. So, all
right, that's all I've got.
Sounds good. Hey, our next one here, we're hammering the over for the away team this time. Chicago 1, Columbus 3. I am begging someone, please free Frank Klopas, set him free from this, unbelievable misery, this purgatory that he's in. Columbus now, I think, are 2 on the bounce for wins, showing a good rally from a long spell of no wins, not necessarily losses, but, no wins, at least. I think it was 7 winless, and now since that streak ended, they've only been winning. So good turnaround. I think they are starting to get back into their rhythm. Bodes well for Champions Cup here in like 2 weeks. Aside from that, I mean, look, I don't have anything good to say about Chicago.
Yeah, maybe we'll start with the Chicago side of things. they created some pretty decent opportunities in this match, but just couldn't score them. Like,
They did that last week too.
yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of the season. Look, I'm not a fan of FOTMob's data, but on the screen here, you'll see they actually had more XG than Columbus. Columbus had 0.9, but scored 3 goals. Chicago had 1.53, only scored 1. I think it just, to me, and this was my analysis of the game, like, Columbus were just more clinical with their chances. With their harder chances, at least. They had a couple easy ones they missed as well. But Chicago just no conviction in that last moment to get the ball into the back of the net. We do have a correspondence corner from Timothy Holtz. So I'll read that out for us. He says, Fire are now officially off to the worst start in club history. Never before has the team had just 10 points after 14 games. The team likely needs to go on a near Shield-winning run for the final 20 games of the season just to sneak into the play-in spots. Oh my gosh, that is terrible. Unlikely considering the team has had a lead during their first game. Why can't I not read tonight? Unlikely considering the team last had a lead during their first game in April. Wow. There's little that can be said that hasn't already been said. Even the fact that following the loss on Saturday, Fire head coach Frank Klopas had an emotional press conference where he made it clear he hadn't yet found the answers he's been searching for. This time, he left things saying, I wish we could have happier times, guys. In the end, it's only a game.
Put that man out of his misery.
Yeah. In the end, it's only a game. If I were a fan of Chicago, I wouldn't be too happy with hearing that. I get it.
If I was a fan of Chicago, I wouldn't be happy about seeing someone as respected as Frank Klopas be put in this position.
Yeah. Of course, I agree with that. So, just on the pitch, like, they've got decent players. It's just, it just never works. It never works. They never put it all together. They spend big on superstar. They spend big on proven players outside in different leagues. They go and get young guys no matter what. It just, even the guys that they develop, like Slanina or like Gutierrez, I really like, but he isn't kicking on into that next echelon of player. And I worry that he's just going to stay there and start to flounder, and then, you know, maybe somebody picks him up and he just explodes, like what happened with Mihailovic to Montreal. Like, I could see that happening, and Chicago just sits there and goes, how did we let another young star go to another team and just blossom? So I worry a lot about that club, in all honesty. But in the meantime, they are free money.
They are free money. Anyone playing Chicago is a lock.
Yeah, especially Columbus. That was
right
where I think we all made the bulk of our money this weekend.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I took a Columbus over Chicago and over 2.5 goals.
And it hit pretty heavily.
It hit. Yeah, I took a 3-leg that had Cincinnati and over 2.5 goals, Columbus and over 2.5 goals, and then the one that made me very nervous that we'll talk about here later on was Minnesota and over 2.5 goals. And that one only just barely hit. So
just barely.
So,
do you have anything else on Chicago?
No,
okay.
I don't. Do you have anything else in general?
Jason Russell-Rowe, I'm happy he got a goal because he missed a couple of big chances. It just, his third goal just felt like, remember when we talked a few weeks ago or earlier on in the season, I think it was about a Cincinnati goal. It felt like an FU goal. I think Acosta scored it. Like, this one felt like an FU goal just because he was mad, he missed chances. He almost like when he scored it, he almost just like rolled his eyes. So again, those always make me laugh. So props to him. It was a really good goal. All three of the goals were really good goals. They were all like low percentage chances, I feel like, and they just took full advantage of them, whereas Chicago didn't, and that's the storyline for me of this match.
Yeah, it's the storyline of Chicago's season, like we've said a few times. But in the meantime, Columbus looked to be back in good form. I don't recall offhand who they're playing this upcoming weekend, but chances are it's probably free money.
Nope. Well, you might say it is. They're playing Orlando this weekend.
Oh, free money. Free money, Orlando under 1.5 goals. Done.
Yeah.
All right, I'm moving us on. Our second to last for this category, Gavin got Austin 3, Sporting Kansas City 2. I loved the chaos that was being channeled in this match. There was this phenomenal early team goal. You know, it's being passed all over the place by Austin. I'm like, goal, and then offside. And I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. And then Sporting Kansas City scores like not long after, and I'm like, oh man, that's gonna shift the momentum, isn't it? And then you of course have like the Obrian goal. Tim Melia has an absolute howler with that, you know, classic when playing it out of the back goes wrong. Obrian, for that matter, has a brace in this match. Davis for SKC, complete worldy, unmarked in tons of space outside the box from way far out, like 25, 30 yards almost. I mean, this was an exciting game, which is insane. I can't believe I'm saying that an Austin Sporting Kansas City, like I normally don't associate either of these teams with exciting games, and yet playing each other, I especially don't, and yet this was a really fun match to watch.
Oh yeah, this was a good one. You did a great job of summarizing it well.
Did you like my summary of the team goal that was disallowed? I thought the sound effects were very good.
They were beautiful. You did.
I will accept my casting call for commentating, being color commentary on some national broadcasts.
One day.
You can contact my agent at LionsBlog1.
Oh yeah. I got you. I'll sign you up with the ESPN pronto. Yeah, very fun game, absolutely. I want to criticize Austin for the decision to try to play it out of the back there. Austin had clearly really pushed up. Sporting Kansas City have a goal kick. What are you doing? You're already winning 1-0. Kick it over their head, try to win the knockdown, and go from there. And instead, you try to play it out the back, you try to be cheeky, and you let the home team back into it, totally shift the momentum. This was a momentum shifting game. You got it spot on. Austin had all the momentum, SKC hit him. Now SKC kind of had momentum, Austin hit him back. Austin hit him again. Austin hit him again. And then Jake Davis with the banger. Like, it was just momentum shift. It was a great match. And yeah, I thought that first moment from SKC where that first goal that Austin scored was just idiotic, really dumb from SKC. For Austin, Driussi, 3 goals in 3 games. 1 goal in each game. Back? So bang, 3 goals in a row. He may well be back. He missed a penalty, but I mean, I'm not going to blame anybody for missing a penalty against Melia. His save rate is just 100%. Insane.
I'm jumping straight to blame mode, Gavin.
Yeah,
I'm providing the balance to your well thought out logical take. I'm going straight for the knee jerk reaction.
Denny Pereira, back to his best. He's looking pretty good. I think he got 2 assists in this match. Let me look real quick. Yep, 2 assists for both Obrian goals. And Austin find themselves. Do you want to guess? Do you already know? Where in the table do they find themselves?
I feel like they're probably in like 5th or maybe 4th.
Close. 3rd.
Wow.
Austin are 3rd in the West.
I am stunned.
Yeah, so they've been on a great run of form here. In their last 5 games, 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. So props to them, and they are facing San Jose next. We do have a correspondence corner from SKC side of the town. So that's from
At
Travis.
SKC Spins.
SKC Spins. He says another poor showing. Peter promised big changes to the starting lineup and half-assed it by switching a center back and fullback while ignoring obvious underperformers who have lacked effort. Jake Davis had another worldie, and despite justified complaints of Alan Pulido and Johnny Russell, they both got a goal contribution. Russell were stalling and beginning on all-out nosedive. Hashtag Vermes out.
Yes, bring it back. We've been on that. That hashtag makes a round at minimum once a year.
Once a year at this point.
Yeah.
Jake Davis only scores worldies. He's right. He's got 2 this season from very similar locations.
Stop giving him space unmarked. It's 5-10 yards outside the top of the box.
Something about those SKC right backs. Zusi's had a couple of those as well.
Yeah. Fair shout.
All right. That's all I got.
Gavin, I'm saving the best for last here. My notes on this is no notes, 10 out of 10 game, instant classic. It's RSL 5, Colorado 3. Ooh.
Dude. One of my favorites.
Okay. This, we can say Austin Sporting Kansas City was surprisingly fun. Yes. It is dwarfed by this match. I mean, first of all, working backwards from this match, I love that RSL are up 4-3 with like 2 minutes left in the game, and they get a breakaway and they're still going for blood. And they're like, no, let's get another one more. Show Colorado that we mean business. And they could have run it to the corner flag. They could have stalled. They could have tried to play keep away and pass. No, they went straight at goal. And Chicho making the run, being like, look at me. I pass it over here, play it, diagonal. I can get my hat trick. And it's like, no, I'm going to shoot this from 20 yards out, curl it around Stefan.
If you're going to do it, you got to score.
Yeah, I mean, it does score. Beautiful goal. 2 players on braces for that game. I mean, phenomenal. It's so much fun. At no point in time leading up to this weekend, or even in the first half of this match, would I have seen this game going the way that it did. Phenomenal. Great game. Go back and watch it. Bookmark it.
Yeah.
Record it.
You may have no notes. I do have some notes, but I agree with the notes statement. I agree with it.
What about the instant classic 10 out of 10 game?
Agree with all of it. Yeah. Everything
Perfect.
you said. Everything.
Hit me with it, Gavin. Give me your long form notes, since I've given you cliff notes. I've given you Rocky Mountain cliff notes.
Yeah. I had the privilege of watching MLS 360 this weekend. Usually I Orlando City or Eastern time, so I watch that, and then usually I just tune into a game or two after the Orlando City game, if Orlando City are playing away, that is. We've been playing home a lot recently. But since I got to watch MLS 360, I heard the MLS 360 commentator say at 2-0 in the 20th minute, well, it looks like Colorado are going to win this Rocky Mountain Cup game. And I remember thinking to myself, you went a little early there, my friend. And 20 minutes later, it was 2-2. And so I felt pretty justified there. And that was funny. But yeah, overall, just a crazy, crazy match. Question for you on Colorado side.
Yes.
Rafael Navarro, striker for Colorado.
Yes.
He's in hot form. 4 goals in the last 4 games. 1 goal in each game. 8 goals on the season. His loan, I think from Palmeiras, is that right? Ends June 30th, end of June. Do you extend? He had a rough season last season. Do you extend?
I think my question is, if you extend him, what's the impact on the roster?
They're without a striker.
Well, but the summer window is going to open up. You're going to go into, Leagues Cup 2 weeks afterwards. And if you don't care about Leagues Cup, right, that gives you 7 weeks to integrate a new striker. if you found one.
Yeah.
So what's the impact on the roster? If you extend him, does that mean that his budget charge goes up? Are you sacrificing, a higher tier of player, like a higher tier of player from a long-term results and like from a floor perspective for the unknown of what the future might look like for him?
Yeah. That's fair.
I don't know. I mean, if it's a very small fee associated and you can extend them out and it has minimal impact to the roster and it doesn't, preclude you from making any sort of summer adjustments, yeah, why not? Keep the hot hand.
Mm-hmm.
If it's you extend him and now any flexibility you had is gone, there's a lot of players out there in the world.
I'm looking at last season for him, and he definitely got injured in the middle of it, but 2 goals last season.
Is the man on a
MLS.
career year as well?
Right.
Do you extend him, and does that performance immediately drop off, like so many other people have happen when they get that big contract?
Yeah.
Or when they get some sort of assurance about what their future is going to look like.
I always get wary, and this is why I posed the question. I always get wary of players who turn up around contract time and start to really, their goals, assists start to really kick off. I'm not saying, he's only trying for that contract, but like you said, we see it time and again where player plays really well, gets 8 goals in 14 matches on the season, gets 4 games, 4 goals right around contract time, and they get the new contract, and maybe he gets another few goals, but it's back down to normal, and you're thinking, how did that happen? He was amazing.
Right, regression to the mean.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting decision because he has struggled overall at Colorado, but recently, like I said, 4 goals, 4 games.
Yeah.
8 goals on the season.
Well, but Gavin, I'm glad that neither of us have to make that decision.
Yep. That's all I've got.
All right. Sounds good. I'm ready to move us on, Gavin. We're going to keep the show rolling here. 2 categories remain. We've got bad and worse, and the result we want, and the result we deserve. What are you feeling?
Result we want, result we deserve.
That's right, bad and worse. Excellent choice there, Gavin. So, we're going to start off with Nashville 1, Atlanta 1. Gavin, Atlanta has a bad coach playing bad soccer, yielding bad team performances. Nashville have a worse season and worse style of play somehow. I mean, let me just summarize it by saying this. You always have like the post-coach bounce, right? Players are playing free, they're keeping it simple, they're playing to the basics, and it works. When I watched Nashville play, they started off looking like that, and something seemed to click in their minds. And I don't know if they're just conditioned to play this way, but at a certain point, players stopped making runs. You would have, Hani charging up the, right channel, and there's no one coming up the field. Sam Surridge is 20 yards behind him. Schaffelberg is way over on the other side, not cutting into the box. And Hani ends up, trying to stall for a little bit, loses possession, and then it goes, Atlanta goes on the counterattack. And like the people who've been like kind of like slowly meandering up the field being like, oh, someone else is going to make the run, or do I need to go do it? Then they're all caught in transition. And it happened time and time and time and time again. And Atlanta, being a team that's playing bad soccer and bad performances, didn't punish them for it. But oh my, Gavin, Gary Smith, I think, has done some serious damage to the attacking mindset of the players on Nashville.
Oh yeah.
It's because it's no longer about the basics. That seems like it's their new basic. It's their default. And that makes me A, sad, and B, terrified for the future of these players, because
they need a factory reset, because their default settings are, when like you have a computer for 6 years and you make little tweaks to the settings and it starts to slow down and gets choppy, and it's like, I just need a full reset of this computer. I don't care what I lose on this thing. Like, that's where we're at with Nashville SC. Factory reset. Players need to learn how to make runs again. Players need to learn how to tiki-taka in tight areas, pass into space when necessary, and make the run into the space to collect the pass. Just everything looks terrible. There was so clearly a lack of creativity in this match from Nashville and from Atlanta. All things considered, this was a snooze fest of a game for me.
I'll tell you, Gavin, this is like watching someone, upgrade from Microsoft Windows 7 to Windows 8 and being like, what have we done?
Yep.
Please send me back. And it's like, no, it's too late. You can't go back anymore. You already made the change. And now you're just sitting there like, when's the next, like, when is Windows 10? Please, like, fix this.
Yeah. Out of the two teams, who is more disappointed with this result?
Atlanta. Yeah, think about it. Nashville just fired their coach. Like, you've hit the rock bottom. Like, how much lower can you go?
Without their new coach. They have the interim.
Yeah, and they don't even have like a full interim because the assistant coach they got rid of as well. Like, you don't even have an established first team person trying to keep the ship upright at this point. But Atlanta, looks at Nashville, sees that they're in turmoil, and says, yeah, this is a chance for us to get a get-right win over a team that doesn't have any identity, that is struggling, and, we can prove that we can win if we don't have Yakumakis and Almada. And they didn't prove that at all. Like, not even a little bit.
Proved quite the opposite.
Right. So, Atlanta.
We did have some controversy in this match.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, penalty.
Yeah, never leave
incident. Mukhtar jumps over the on-rushing Guzan. I guess I could see if I can find a video of it. You know what? I think Gavin, I tweeted it, so let me find it.
Yeah, I recall us having a discussion about this on the cell phone telephone.
We absolutely did. So let's have that same conversation.
Pull back the tape.
I guess I don't want to full screen it. Can we
Yeah, it's all right, Gavin.
Can people see that?
I don't know if they can see it.
Yeah, they can see it. Okay, so ball's in the box. Oh, this is I'm on the wrong one. Sheesh.
Oh my gosh. Well, since Gavin's over here...
I found it. Okay. So as our viewers who are watching the stream can see, Mukhtar jumps over the onrushing Brad Guzan, and there's slight contact there. Penalty given. VAR does not deem it clear and obvious error. What say you?
I say the same thing that we said in our conversation over the weekend, which is, do we want players to play to contact, knowing that contact is coming, knowing that someone's going to rush out, potentially take out their legs, cause injury? And is it, we're not going to give them the penalty until they suffer the potential injury? Or do we punish the person who, makes the decision to go do the reckless thing, and even if no injury results and they're able to avoid the contact and not get taken out and not be injured, do we still need to punish them to discourage them from making reckless decisions in the box that might endanger the player? Because if Hani doesn't make that jump, right, if he's eyes on the ball, not watching where Guzan is, now Guzan's completely taken him out, he's flipped over, no one's going to argue the penalty at that point. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, Guzan completely cleared him out. Clear penalty, plain as day. But like, if he sees Guzan coming and he jumps over him, does that mean that it wouldn't be a foul? Like, I don't think we can ask players to sacrifice their health for, one decision that should be given on a poor and reckless challenge from another player.
Yeah. I've over the past 48 hours, I've been going back and forth on this in my head. I think where I've landed is I don't think the on-field call should have been penalty, but I don't think it's clear and obvious to overturn. So I'm not surprised. But reason I don't think it's a penalty is because he just gets to the ball and then jumps over the contact. And like at that point there's no foul for me. Like there's very little contact. I've got the still image up here. He's already nearly in plank position before he gets touched by Guzan. I think it's just he jumps over the contact and therefore it's not a penalty. Like, it's hard for me to explain, but if there's no contact, like there's no foul. It's two players. He avoided the contact. Okay. Like, it was his decision to jump and not go for the ball. He decided to give up the chase on the ball. Now, was that to avoid the contact? Maybe. Or was it to try and dive and win a penalty? Maybe. We don't know. Whatever that split-second decision was. But he's the one who stops going after the ball. And so the question, I think, is he intentionally avoiding contact? Is he intentionally diving? Or is he going for the ball? I don't think he's going for the ball. I think he gives up the chase on the ball. And so for me, I think it's not a penalty. But I can see why they didn't overturn it. And I can see why it's very contentious, because on one hand, you have people saying, do you just want him to get his legs broken and taken out? And on the other hand, you say, oh my gosh, he's such a dirty diver. And I don't think it's either of those.
Right. I would say if that happens elsewhere on the field, and this might prove more of your point for it, right? If it happens elsewhere on the field, the ref's not going to blow it as a foul.
Exactly. There was actually an incident in this game that I know I called out to you where I think Surridge just stuck his leg out, and then one of the Atlanta players jumped over it. The ref didn't call foul. He didn't play advantage. It just happened. It's just avoiding the contact. This is just a much bigger incident of avoiding contact. So that's where I land on it. He jumps so early. I'm watching it again here.
Gavin,
he kicks it and jumps
to avoid. So he's made contact for the ball. He's taken control of it, and then he sees that Guzan is charging and says to himself, either says, oh, I could just dive here once he gets close enough to me and get the PK, or he says I could get cleaned out by this guy and definitely get the PK. It seems to me like, again, in my mind, right, I'm going to take the simplest explanation. The simplest explanation in my mind is he sees a guy charging at him and he's like, I'm going to get taken out and that's going to hurt, so I'm going to jump over him.
Mm-hmm. To me, that doesn't mean it's a penalty, though.
But then you just do that everywhere, right? Like, then anytime that you want to, go in for a challenge, you go in the most, like, clear, telegraphed, gonna hurt you way possible. And then when they jump and avoid it and you win it, then good job. You've won the challenge and got the ball because the other person was like, that looks dangerous and reckless and ill-timed and I don't want to get hurt.
But is what Guzan was doing dangerous and reckless? He's going for the ball. He has to go at full speed because he's decided in that moment that he has to go for it. And the ball has laid itself at a winnable position for him. So like on the goalkeeper side of things, people would say he has to go for that ball. The same way Mukhtar has to go for that ball.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying as well. I get what you're saying.
I think here's the other side of it: is does Mukhtar perceive it as, this is going to be a dangerous challenge? He's coming in, full speed at me after I've just taken the first touch on the ball.
Well, yeah.
Right.
He does.
And I love this conversation, Gavin, because I truly don't believe there's a good answer either.
There isn't.
There's not.
I see why they kept it on the field. Because it's like,
I think no matter what, no matter what you call it on that, the decision on the field was always going to stand. And if they didn't call it as a PK, it wouldn't get overturned either.
Because of the jump. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, that's enough time on this game, I think, but that was a big incident that we had to cover.
Yeah. Hey, let's spend a little bit less time talking about this next one.
Houston
won,
sorry.
won.
One last thing. One last thing. We got a correspondence corner, though, so it's not me. It was just my fault. I forgot it. This is from Wyatt.
You just said it's not me, and then you just said it's my fault.
Yeah. I know.
Okay.
I'm all over the place tonight.
Well, which one is it?
Wyatt for Nashville.
Go ahead. Go on.
Sorry. He says, what happens when a mid-team... What? I cannot read tonight. What happens when a mid-team with no coach faces off against an injury-ridden team with a poor coach? A pretty boring game that seemed like both teams were only there to be there. Nashville unable to make decent passes and Atlanta making one shot on goal. It was embarrassing on all ends. Everyone in has a long way to go now that they're without Gary and Guppy.
Fair.
I think that's fair. Yeah, they do have a long way to go, and it was a boring match.
Yep.
Now I'm done.
Okay. But you don't have anyone for Atlanta, right? You didn't have anything from Bryce?
Unless we got a late comer, I think we're good.
All right.
Yeah, we're good.
Now or forever hold your peace.
Peace held.
All right. Houston won. Dallas won. This was a bad game between two teams that are doing poorly this season. And there's a lot of excuses that you can make for these teams. Does not change the fact that I have not had any enjoyment watching either of these teams this year.
Yeah, this was not a fun one to watch. That's for sure. Let's get over there.
Yeah.
Oh, I the wrong thing.
I want to speak very little about this match, if I'm being honest.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything positive that I can say other than, as far as I'm aware, Hector Herrera did not have his leg broken in this match.
Nope, he did not.
Yeah, and Nico Estevez was not fired after this match for Dallas, so...
Not yet?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, again, Dallas, you can have all the excuses in the world that you got injured players, they were missing impact people, like... Even when they had those impact players, they still weren't setting the world on fire. I don't think the coaching is going to magically get better, and I think it's time that you look in a different direction because the players that you have are not going to stay healthy. Just straight up. They're not going to stay healthy. You need to do a reset. On the Houston side, I want to believe that Hector Herrera can drag them over the line and he's going to rally them to him, but I'm becoming less and less certain with every passing week because Corey Baird was on a career season for them, and they didn't replace that with anyone of impact. Then you've got Ache going injured, and it exposed just kind of how weak this Houston side is outside of that. Well, now he's back, but people already know where's the teeth in Houston.
Agree with all of that. On the Houston side of things, I agree that it's really that striker position. Baird gone. They've got Kowalczyk in. He's been very poor for them this season.
Would Miguel Berry be the best striker on their team?
Maybe. I mean, Kowalczyk's got one goal this season overall. Is it two? Oh, that was that was in the Champions Cup. He got a Champions Cup goal as well, so he's got 2 goals on the season. But crikey, he's been very poor for them up top. Ferreira I think he's been injured for Houston. And last season just looks more and more like a flash in the pan. As for Dallas, the 3-back system just hasn't worked all season. They're continuing with it. I don't know why. They're finally getting some of their key players fit, and Jesus Ferreira and Bernard Kamungo. It's good to see them starting again. Musa up top as well. And, I mean, Musa's goal was a thing of beauty. I mean, it was a really good team goal, but it was like, that was it. Like, they just, like, figured it out for 1 second. They got the ball in the back of the net. It was one touch, one touch, one touch. Beautiful. It's like, okay, that's a positive that they can cling on to, and they need to, like, do that sort of thing more consistently. But you just don't see it with this team at the moment. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams do, how these teams fare in these next few weeks. But yeah, this was a pretty rough game.
Well, let's leave this roughness behind, Gavin, and we're gonna. I say this as though we are getting out of this topic. We're not. We're continuing.
You picked it.
See it. Yeah, you picked it, Gavin. I read your secret intentions. I know didn't actually want to end on the worst matches. Seattle won. Vancouver won. Seattle haven't been good this year. I think it's safe to say that's not a controversial statement.
Yep.
And that PK that they give up at the very end, I think, is emblematic of where the issue lies for this team. There is not the ability to see out matches. There's not the ability to stay disciplined and, say, okay, like we need to stay locked in. We need to do our jobs. Let's be clean. Let's be efficient. Like, no, they have found different ways this season to just disappoint. And seemingly every single week is a different one, barring the times that they suddenly do really well. And then it's like, oh, back to our scheduled business next week. Vancouver side, I'm starting to mildly panic.
Yeah.
White and gold, we have said many, many, many times, if they're not doing well, then the team struggles. And they have been not doing well for more games than I seem to recall them doing well. And that is concerning because Vancouver started off extremely hot, and now where are they, Gavin?
Yeah, I feel like they're getting figured out a bit. Like it feels like teams understand their attacking patterns and realize, oh, they actually aren't that threatening. They don't send too many bodies forward at a time, only in certain select moments do they do that. Other than that, when they're, building through set standard play, it's not really dangerous.
Yeah, the last time that they won, by the way, was a month ago.
Yeah, it's been poor form for them. Defensively, they're decent, but I think they got away with one here. They should have lost this, I think.
Agreed. Yep.
But
did not deserve it. And I'm glad they got something as a person who enjoys watching Vancouver, but this is a stolen point.
Yeah, I agree.
Like every single day I look at that and I'm like, didn't deserve it. Good for him for getting it. Don't look back.
Let's talk about the incidents then. Let's start with the handball, not the penalty. The other handball. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm blanking on it, if I'm being honest. I blocked so much of this match out of my mind. It was not a good match.
Yeah. There was I'm half blanking on it too, but there was a handball that I think stopped a goal. Either stopped a goal or was a penalty.
Maybe. I'm thinking of a Charlotte handball that at one point was not awarded, I believe. But that was last week, actually. I'm still thinking of Charlotte's ignored handball last week.
Let's see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, do me a solid. Walk me through it. Save me at 10:20 p.m. on a Monday night.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Is this it? Oh, no. This is something completely different. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it.
That's okay.
But there was some handball. We can skip it. We can talk about the penalty.
Yeah. I mean, who should know better.
Yeah, what is he doing? Like, it's It's way up there.
I don't know. I don't know, Gavin. I don't know what Nuhu's doing there.
For me, I've seen some back and forth on this. I think this exact type of handball has been clearly defined by IFAB. And so that's why, for me, it's a clear and obvious error. It's not the supporting hand that's supporting his slide. It's the other hand that is raised that hits the ball. And so, clear and obvious error, penalty, and Gold smashes it home. So for me, there's not a ton of controversy on this one, other than it's a late penalty call.
It's a late penalty call in I would say, a moment of like needless abandon where I don't know why people love to like slide in with the arms splayed out.
It's a very Nuhu thing.
Yeah.
He's just all over the place all the time.
Yeah, well, the fans have been mad at Nuhu for many things in the past, so just add this one onto the list.
Yep. All right, let's move on.
Last one, New England 0, Philadelphia 3. Philadelphia, for much of the season, has not been a good team. This is a win against the Revs, so, take a grain of salt, right? Basically, every single match against the Revs should be a lock for whoever's playing them. And somehow, I think the story is still how bad the Revs are. I have so few positive things that I can say for the Revs. I mean, they had fans at the match. There you go. Carl Gil, still a player for New England. But, there we go. I'm trying super hard to have 3.
I like Bajrak Tarevich.
Yeah.
The wide player for New England, 19 years old. He's a decent looking player.
Matt Turner used to play for New England. How's that?
You're awful. Barrero's back on the field.
Yeah, Barrero's back on the field. I mean, all of the things that we're talking about have nothing to do with how they play, which should tell you absolutely everything you need to know, that we are trying our absolute best to avoid thinking about New England playing at all.
Gosh, yeah.
They're awful. They're a terrible team.
We talked about the drama earlier.
Talked about the drama earlier. I want to instead talk about Philadelphia getting 3 goals and allowing none, because again, Philadelphia, we've talked about, has a defense issue. Is allowing no goals against New England a sign of improvement, or is it because New England are that bad and it wouldn't matter if they had, one person playing defense and 10 on offense and New England still wouldn't score? Like, what does this match tell us about Philadelphia is maybe the better question.
Nothing for me.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. New England Revolution are already a bad team, and they were down to 10 men within 14 minutes.
Very true. I will admit I forgot that happened.
Okay, yeah. So the understandable, forgettable match.
Yep.
For me, this tells me nothing about Philadelphia other than they can beat up on a bad team, and thank the Lord they can do it. I just hope this is a
confidence boost.
A confidence boost. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to say.
It's what they need.
Yeah. If they didn't win, there would be some serious questions about what's going on with them, but they got it over the line, so that was fine. It was just, right. I don't know if you remember the red card, really, really idiotic play by Spalding.
It would be impressive if I remembered the red card live, considering I was at a match.
True. Ure, it's a bad touch from Spalding, and Ure jumps onto it, racing through on goal, and Spalding just starts tugging him, and eventually Ure just falls over, or Ura, I don't know how to say his name, but red card, easy red card. Ure, I think it's Ure, but
I think it is Ure.
Yeah, so Spalding gets a red card. I don't blame Caleb Porter for getting into a fight with him, if that is true, allegedly, supposedly.
Right. Allegedly. Remember, Mark Anthony K tweeted at someone saying, "I don't appreciate having my name associated with things that aren't true." Which then, like, everyone replied, "Oh, so it happened then, didn't it?"
Yeah, it definitely happened.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll call out, or two things. Not last thing. Jack McGlynn comes on for Jose Andres Martinez.
Pretty early as well.
In the press conference, Curtin had called out that Martinez was having chest pains. He had a real hard contact in the pectoral area, and even internally, he said something did not feel right, and that's a scary thing, so we were proactive and got him off. Props to the team for doing that.
Yep.
Considering we saw what happened in the Tottenham match where Ederson was knocked out cold and then continued playing, because no matter how many times the Premier League says that they care about head injuries, they clearly don't.
They sure don't.
Whatever. So props to them for that. And then McGlynn comes in and plays very well. He is in fine form, and he just looks like a player who's stepping up a gear. He's growing in stature, playing with much more conviction in his decision making. He's taking a lot more shots, a lot of long range shots, powerful shots. He had 3 shots, all 3 from outside the box, and all 3 were pretty close. And then he also gets an assist in this match with a beautiful cross to Carranza. He is just really, really enjoyable to watch. And so I hope he keeps up this fine form.
Agree. It will be good for Philadelphia if he can.
Because he's playing well, even though the team isn't.
Yes. Gavin, anything else before I take us to the final topic, our final 5 matches?
Let's do the final 5. Let's do it.
All right. It's the results we want and the results we deserve. Gavin, we're going to start off with Charlotte 0, LA Galaxy 0. I will admit, I actually initially had Charlotte and LA in a different category, and it was not hammer the over. Because, I looked at it, right? And Charlotte have 3 wins going into the match.
Mm-hmm.
Their wins are against bad teams, and they're narrow victories. Bad Chicago team, bad Nashville team, a Portland team that cannot keep the ball out of the back of their own net to save their lives right now. None of those wins were, you look at and be like, oh my gosh, statement, signature win. The Portland 1-1 was pretty solid, I guess. But again, not like a statement, signature, oh my gosh, wow. Win. LA Galaxy last won a match approximately a month ago.
Wow.
And somehow, I think this is not the result that we want, but this is probably the result we deserve, because LA Galaxy are not a bad team, but they're in a bit of a slump, and they seem to have some struggles creating and finishing chances right now. And meanwhile, Charlotte are... I don't think they're a top amazing team that is deserving of 3 wins in a row, being like, oh, they're in amazing great form right now. So when they run into a team that's more competent, 0 goals is probably about what we expect is a fair result. So these teams need something. Just desperately, they need something.
Yeah, they need to not face each other.
Yeah, they need to not. I need to have not watched any of this match, if I'm being honest. That's what I needed.
Yeah, pretty boring one. I think this could have been a 1-1 on a different day. Like, there were chances. Obviously, there were chances. There was 90 minutes of soccer, but just right. I feel like there were 2 goals out there, one for each team. But yeah,
a draw was the right result.
A draw was the right result. I think. Yeah. So I don't want to spend much more on this game. It was a nothing game.
It was a 0-0 draw. We're gonna move on to Miami 1, DC United 0. This was
another nothing game.
Yeah, until the 94th minute in stoppage time, when Campana gets the goal and immediately tears off his shirt, and he's like celebrating like like he just scored a stoppage time winner in a big match, and he did score a stoppage time winner, but I don't know if DC United is the one that you're like celebrating on, because it was a nothing game. Like, this wasn't a hard fought nail biter where it's like, oh, it's back and forth and like anyone could win, and it's guys like really just going at it and putting their all on the line. Like, this should have also ended 0-0.
Yeah. I want to give props to DC. They played well on the road. I don't think they deserve to lose this match.
But didn't deserve to win it.
They didn't deserve to win it. Yeah, it was definitely a 0-0. They had like one chance in the game, I think, and they didn't take it. So like 0-0. But just like heavily impacted by the weather. Lots of rain coming down in the first half, and I think some in the second half, and just definitely caused the game to be a bit choppy and lots of fouls and just it took a random moment.
And rain games.
I don't know, man. It's been ridiculous.
They're in Miami. How are you not used to playing in the rain?
You would think they would be, but
yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
I want to focus in real quick on Suarez, not for too long.
Right.
Suarez has had a slow few weeks. I'm pulling up his things here.
Has he?
Maybe not a slow few weeks. I thought it was a little bit more time, but he scored against Montreal May 11th. Didn't score against Orlando. Didn't really play all that well. Didn't score against DC and didn't really play that well. So I guess 2 games in a row, he hasn't played all that well.
Right.
And maybe it was just because I got to see him live and he just didn't play well in that Orlando match. But he was against Orlando limping like 12, 15 minutes into the game. And I know the limp thing has been talked about to death this season. But like, do you think it's going to catch up with him?
It has to catch up with him.
Like, it's a long season.
It has to catch up with him. At some point, it absolutely has to. I don't know when. Suarez probably won't play in Copa at this point, will he?
I hope for his sake, because like every step nowadays, it's a limp. And then he runs on it, and then it's a limp, and then he's running, and it's like, dude.
I mean, he will. I don't know if he has a contract past this season, but he's got to be done at some point this year. Like, 2024 has to be the last season of Suarez.
I just hope that they give him a few rests. I mean, maybe no time like the present.
Rest, 5 months of it.
Yeah. Campagna gets the game winner here. Give him the start in the next game. Like, whoever you're playing, you can bring Suarez off the bench if you really need to. And who do Miami have next? They are away against Vancouver.
Ooh.
Start Campagna.
Start
Campana.
What an absolute trip that will be. Yeah. There will be no Messi at that match.
There's no way.
For sure. Certainly there can't be a Suarez. I mean, plus BC Place, like, I don't know of any place that I can think of that has less desirable turf to play on.
Agreed. Yeah.
I've not seen any teams play well on that turf.
Yeah, there's probably
That's way too much time.
Yeah, there's probably way too much time on
1-0. Hey, let's talk about another 1-0 though. San Jose 0, Orlando 1. Gavin, please tell me, because I didn't watch this match at all, and I didn't even look at the highlights because I'm like, Gavin has watched this match live, and I won't take any of his thunder. Please tell me this was a better match than the scoreline suggests.
I hate to break it to you, pal.
This is a disappointment.
Yeah, disappointment. Really ugly
that's enough
game.
On San Jose versus Orlando. I'll
really
take us
ugly
on
game. ugly game. Slow game. San Jose not a lot of threat. Notable thing from this match is Duncan McGuire broke his arm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Notable.
So he
might
miss out on a summer transfer because of that. Hopefully not.
Oh my gosh, he has the worst luck in the world.
I know. So, I mean, hopefully that isn't the case. I mean, we've offered him a contract, so maybe he was thinking about staying anyways, but he's apparently got so many clubs looking at him over in Europe that it's like we kind of are resigned. And the fans have started to talk about the positives, which is the new rules that go into place in the summer with the 3 million in GAM, which is a game changer. Like,
It's
everyone's
a game
saying, I like that. Anyone saying that like the league isn't doing anything, I would say is wrong when it comes to trying to advance. And like having 3 million from a big sale instead of 1.2 or whatever it was is a big change. So we were looking forward to that. Now if we don't have that and we don't have Duncan, we have like the worst possible scenario.
Right.
So
The worst timeline.
I mean, hopefully he didn't break it, but it really looked like a broken arm. He landed on it bad.
They dislocate it. Because I hear those are pretty uncomfortable as well.
I mean, he was screaming in pain, so he either dislocated it or yeah. But his replacement, Jack Lynn, MLS Next Pro MVP last year, and top goal scorer ever. I think he has the most goals in
What
ever.
is it with you guys and like breakout young goal scorers? Stop it.
This dude, I'm sorry.
Daryl DK from college, breakout young goal scorer.
Kyle
that
Larin.
I saw coming. Yeah, Kyle Larin and Duncan McGuire, and now who's this person again?
Jack Lynn. We got him in the
Jack
draft
Lynn.
like 4 years ago, something like
in
that.
the draft, Gavin, stop.
But he
Who do you know on the inside? Like, who is Orlando talking to
We
get
got good
all
scouts.
these guys? You guys or something.
But-
There's something down in the water. In
So
Orlando.
Jacqueline scored the game-winning goal. It's his second game-winning goal of the season. But he played terrible. Like, it's the funniest thing. He played terrible. He couldn't make a pass to save his life. But the dude is a killer in the box. And the ball falls his way and he slots it home. So shout out to Jacqueline. He has won us 6 points this season by himself. Or I guess 4 if we were tied in both games. So 4 points to Jacqueline this season. That's all. That's all I've got on the match. Terrible match.
Terrible.
Next.
Okay, well, next. Gavin, the result that we deserved for really finally believing in ourselves, and it's the result we wanted for that matter. Minnesota 2, Portland 1. I never stopped believing.
Don't stop believing.
Yeah. Never stopped. Now, I will say,
Minnesota never stopped believing either.
Minnesota never stopped believing. I stopped believing in the officials for this match immediately. This was a very ugly match. And I was nervous, especially at stoppage when it was like 12 minutes added on, which was absurd.
Give me a heart attack.
I amount of time added on. It felt like they may as well just held up a sign saying until Portland equalizes. And
Yes. That is what it felt like.
yeah, it was absurd.
And they went down to 10 men.
Yeah, and they went down to 10 men, and it felt like everything was being laid out against them to try and make sure that they choked away a win by, hook or by crook. Like, they were either going to choke it themselves or someone was going to grab their neck until, they couldn't breathe anymore and they were choking there.
Yeah.
And the people were wearing black and white shirts. But, if
we're starting at the end of this match, I mean,
Yes.
Dane St. Clair really stepped up throughout the entire match, but really at the end, he comes up with, I think, 3 big saves in stoppage time to secure the 3 points for Minnesota after the comeback. Plus, there was that one where I think it was Rodriguez was through, or maybe it was Mora, one of the strikers, and through no one. It's just Mora or Rodriguez and St. Clair. And the ball's bouncing like 40 yards from goal, and St. Clair comes running out, and the Portland striker tries to chip him, and he jumps and heads the ball clear. It was like, oh my god,
Legend.
how did he do that? He came up huge for Minnesota in this match.
Yeah, at 100%. I mean, look, the players that scored came up equally huge, but St. Clair, the MVP of the match.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I think this was a justified result. Like,
Agreed,
Minnesota were the
yes.
better team.
Minnesota were the better team. Portland,
Created chances as they do.
yeah, they
Couldn't defend as they do.
Yeah, this was a very standard Portland performance. And the insane thing is, a standard Portland performance means they're playing on the margins, and they're going to win some and they're going to lose some, and tonight they lost. But
26 goals for, 29 goals against. They have the third best offense in the league. And at least in the Western Conference, they have the worst defense. I can't see
probably
the
the second
Eastern
worst
one.
defense. Yeah, I bet New England is.
Oh, maybe.
No,
go to
New
the
England has
table
allowed
here.
25. Chicago has allowed 20. Montreal has allowed 31.
Okay, so Montreal is the worst defense in the league.
Yeah.
Oh, no, San Jose has allowed 33. I didn't even see that.
Oh my god.
So Portland are third worst,
So they're the third best and the third worst.
tied with Chicago.
That is
Third best, third worst. And they find themselves in 11th.
Hey, that's just number one twice.
Yep. We've got a correspondence corner from Minnesota. So this one's from Maddie. She says
Who was elated.
Yes, I don't blame her. Between Minnesota United and Minnesota Timberwolves, which that was a great game if you didn't see it. Timberwolves came back from I want to say 14 or 15 points down at halftime to win away from
20
home.
points down.
Was it 20? Maybe it was.
Yeah,
It was just
because I
a
saw
really
people
good game.
tweeting about how Denver fans have had the worst 3 days of their sporting
Oh my
lives.
gosh, it was rough. But yeah, so between Minnesota United and the Minnesota Timberwolves, Minnesotans are trying not to get all our hopes up while simultaneously feeling on top of the world. Minnesota United is back and better than ever. On top of the West in points per game, only in second because we're 2 games short of RSL. Eric Ramsey is a hell of a coach, makes adjustments on the fly, not afraid to mass subs, or use all 5 subs in a game, not afraid to adjust the lineup on a weekly basis. If we continue to find ways to put the ball in the back of the net, we will continue to rise. All hail the rising loons. I love it. Good stuff.
Loons take flight.
Yes. I think that's all I've got on the match, so I think we're good.
Yep. All right. Hey, that leaves us with an absolute stunner, phenomenal match to end on. NYC FC 2, New York Red Bulls 1. Now, I would like to say, so tying us back to the title, right? The result we want and the result we deserve. I think most of the league, based on their feelings for New York Red Bulls, wanted NYCFC to win. And on top of that, they probably did deserve to win this. So they've been in phenomenal form. I think there was a stat out there that they are the third most informed team in the league out of 29 teams. So pretty good there. Second thing I noticed, Bakrar, who just scored his first goal for NYCFC, sprinted to Nick Cushing to give that man a hug. And I think that tells me, one, Nick Cushing's not going anywhere right now. I mean, look, they're unbelievably informed. Like, he's very clearly, I think, secured his seat for the rest of the season. But I don't think he was actually ever in danger of going anywhere. If the players, especially the ones struggling, the first thing they do upon scoring that goal in a huge match is they sprint to the head coach, who put them on as a sub. They didn't even start Bakrar. Put him on as a sub, and then ran and gave him a hug.
Yeah, definitely was probably down to his poor form this season, Bakrar, and probably just something the coach said to him, saying, "Hey, I still believe in you. We still believe in you. You're a good player. Yada yada." Just being a good coach. It's probably really big for Bakrar to hear that in that moment, because he's struggled this season. I want to say that was his first goal of the season.
I think it was his first goal for NYCFC.
No, he's scored in the past. He scored last season a few times.
Did
Nothing
he?
crazy.
I thought he joined like this year.
No, he joined September or last season, but he scored in September, in August, in July of last year,
Okay.
in September of last year again, and then this
So
year
it-
it's his first of the season against the Red Bulls.
So September was the last time he scored prior to this.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's
right.
not been in great form. So
No, that I would call that poor form.
yeah. Cushing must have said something, so that was great to see.
Had to have.
I agree.
Hey.
New York City were the better team, deserved to win.
Let's talk about the first goal. Chef's kiss.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. I mean, Jones, phenomenal breakaway. Takes the ball in pace. Never looks like he's going to get caught. And then to make the pass to Wolf, that was absolute, filth. Like, I felt dirty watching it. I was like, I need to go take a shower watching this. Like, then it's not just this ball though, because then Wolf puts one of the New York Red Bull defenders on skates. Guy falls down to the ground, from trying to like make the steps to defend Wolf, going back and forth, trying to juke him, and then just hammers it home. And I mean, like, this was a 100%, like, there was no conservation of energy on this shot. This was like all the hopes and dreams of every single NYCFC fan in the stadium channeled into this man's leg, and then just like pushed it forward with such force that like it very nearly must have torn through the back of the net, because it was beautiful. I mean, just the whole thing. Again, 10 out of 10, no notes, instant classic of a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Great way to start the match, and you really set the tone, for sure.
Yeah.
And then we had a golazo from Cameron Harper.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I got an interesting stat for you about two players that played in this match, okay?
Okay. Don't tell me who they are. Let me see if I can guess them.
Okay. One of them is taking 3.2 shots per 90.
Ooh,
And the other
okay.
is taking 3.3 shots per 90.
Interesting. I feel that one of them is Lewis Morgan.
Wrong.
All right.
So the 3.2 shots per 90 is Cameron Harper,
All right. I should have guessed that, given
Yeah.
that stat.
given the golazo.
Right.
3 goals in his last 3 games, one in each of his last 3 games. So he's on
Okay.
hot streak. And that's really all he does is take shots. That's what I've
Interesting.
noticed from watching him. He
He
like
must be really fun on like, a Sunday morning, like Saturday night, Sunday morning.
yeah.
Continue.
I just registered. Sorry. I just registered. No,
It's okay.
but
It's
like
almost
literally
11
like
o'clock. Hit me
he-
with this other person.
he's not like a great passer. He really is just like a shooter. Malachi Jones. Or Malachi Jones. I think it's either
Malachi, yeah,
Malachi.
sorry.
Okay, Malachi
I think
Jones.
it's Malachi Jones.
3.3 shots per 90 for him. So like we've got some shot monsters here, and if we know anything about shot monsters is that they succeed in the entire world of soccer. If you're
And
averaging
beyond.
3 shots a game, that's pretty good. So, and there's even a stat here on FotMob that says Cameron Harper has the most shots on target per match for New York Red Bulls, 1.8. So,
Solid.
yeah. Okay. We have a correspondence corner from Joe, so I'll quickly fly through that.
Let's end
He
on it.
says, the inaugural Hudson River Derby in Queens did not disappoint. The blue side of New York got off to a hot start, scoring in the 3rd minute on a tremendous effort by Wolf. Harper scores an absolute banger, bar down from distance to tie it up before half. All of this set up a game-winning first goal of the season for New York City FC striker Monsef Bakrar. The goalkeeper Meg in honor of a bear. He rushes to Nick Cushing to celebrate. New York is blue, top 3 in the East and top 5 in the Shield. Watch out for the pigeons / raccoons. That's it. That's what he finished on. I had one more note under it. I thought I was going to read it, but no.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Shall
fair
we
enough.
throw our money into the void?
Yeah, I'm ready to throw my money into an absolute pit of fire. Although I have a very strong suspicion that I'll actually be going 4-0 this week.
Okay. Lay it on me.
All right, I'm taking DC United over Chicago Fire.
Okay.
I'm taking NYCFC over New England Revolution.
Okay.
And then finally, I'm taking LA Galaxy or draw against Houston Dynamo.
Yeah, you're locked in for that.
Yeah.
You're so locked in for that. So
I'll tell you
congrats.
right now, Gavin, that is a plus 487 somehow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm similar. Well, maybe not similar. I got one same as you.
Okay.
DC.
Yep,
I think
free
we're
money.
just get DC.
Mhm.
RSL over Dallas.
All right.
Oh, even though they're away from home, I think Dallas are just
Yeah,
bad.
free money. Yep.
Although this would be the match. Tire Minnesota versus Colorado. That one's a risky one.
Interesting.
I think
That
it's
is
gonna
an
be a good
interesting
match.
one.
I think it's gonna be a good
And
match.
is this at home for Minnesota?
Nope.
It's
They're away.
in Commerce City.
Yep.
Well, let's see if Minnesota can take care of business.
Yep. So yeah, that's the
terrible.
3 leg I'm gonna do. I've got a couple others, but that's the one I'm locking in.
Right. We'll talk about those more, I'm sure, via text or phone call randomly, probably on like a Saturday
Random
or
phone
something.
call.
I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Random phone call at 2 a.m. So. Yeah.
Okay, well we did it. We made it through
did
another
it.
week.
Sure did, Gavin. Good work, us.
Good work, us.
Good work, us. Hey, Gavin, you know what? As the music plays in the background, very far away.
Okay, I was about to say it's very quiet. Is it supposed to be that quiet?
It's at 1% volume. You know,
Gotcha.
A little bit louder for you. Just for you, Gavin. Here you go. I'll give you 5%.
Thank you.
How's that? 5 times louder. You know, just as always, Gavin, big shout out and thank you to all the listeners, to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. Anyone who tunes in live to listen to the podcast, we appreciate as well. I hope that people have been enjoying the live streams and that the overlay and all that has been going well. If you have feedback on it, remember you can get in touch with us on social media at MLS Now Podcast. We are everywhere that you consume social media, as long as it's on one of those sites that I talked about earlier. If we're not on one of those sites, then I've turned into an immediate liar, and you have my deepest, most sincere apologies. But really, we don't have the effort to be on other social media. So you can find Gavin on social media at LionsBlog1. You can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ. Gavin, final words and or till next time?
Just saw that Rigoni was put on waivers for Austin while we were recording. So, breaking news there. Till next time.
Till next time. Cool.